Welcome everyone to Grow Your Business with the Cloud from LeaseWeb. This is Joshua Hoffman, Head of Product Engineering for LeaseWeb, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how you can grow your business with the cloud. We'll do this by sharing the story of one of our customers. But first, a quick note on housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded, so if you have colleagues that join late or others you'd like to share it with, we will be emailing the slides and a link to you within 24 hours. We really are interested in your questions, so please submit any questions you have via the question dialog box you can see pictured there, and we will take questions at the end of the session. The agenda for today, we'll share with you a little bit about who LeaseWeb is, who TOPdesk, our customer we're talking about today, and we'll look at their journey, how our architecture is aligned, we'll talk about some legal and financial considerations, and we'll wrap it up with some final thoughts and address your questions. So, quick note about LeaseWeb. We are a certified infrastructure as a service provider. We've been doing this for 18 years now. We own and operate our own global network with 5.5 terabits of capacity, and we use that to link up our 17 data centers across 3 continents, the US, Europe, and Asia. We have over 65,000 physical servers under management and, of course, thousands and thousands of virtual cloud servers. We have a 24/7 customer service team, and we service over 17,500 customers worldwide. Some of the better known ones you can see on the slide there. And the one we're here to talk about today, of course, is TOPdesk. Joining me is Jeroen Boks from TOPdesk. Hi, Jeroen.
Hi, good morning.
So for those that don't know, can you share a little bit about TOPdesk?
Sure. What we deliver is tools to help our customers make their customers happy. And what we have for that is tooling that improve the customer communication, manage workflows, and keep track of assets, for example. But what's important in that is that we believe in a standard and simple approach. We keep our software simple and attractive, which makes it not only pleasant to use, but also quick to adopt. By doing that, what we also do is integrate workflows of different departments so that your customers will not notice the difference between every department trying to help them, but they are integrating their workflow into a seamless solution. And by doing that, we also integrate parts from your suppliers towards your customers. So we also integrate our software with other kinds of softwares of your suppliers and make sure that the information flow is consistent. We've been doing that since 1993 when we started out. By now we have about 4,000 active customers with more than 6,000 implementations from the beginning. And our customers are spread across the world in about 50 countries worldwide. And to be able to service them in a proper way, we have 13 branches by now in 9 countries in North and South America and Europe. Our employees are about 5,500 people spread across those branches, and about 100 of them are service management consultants, because we do not believe in just providing a software solution, but we also have the experience in-house to help you set up your workflows, create a service management that will benefit your customers.
And being that you've been doing this since 1993, my understanding is you started originally on DOS. Can you tell us a little bit about TOPdesk in those early days?
Yes, what you've seen through time is that technology evolves, and as a supplier you can benefit from those technologies. So when we started out, DOS was the way to go, and we created a client at that moment. Once you saw the Windows stack coming up, we evolved to that mode, but at one point it became more obvious to create a web-based tool because it will take out the hassle to update software on each individual workstation. So we evolved to a web-based solution which made the next step easier to go towards a SaaS solution for our customers. Internet connections became more reliable, more capacity. So it was easy to in-house the hosting of our software ourselves, and thus helping our customers towards the consumerization which is happening. Customers just want to use the software to help their customers, but not focus on keeping it alive and maintaining it. So that's when we started out SaaS. That was about in 2007 that the first customer started using it in that way. And then a recent development basically is that you see that the hosting is being integrated into the creation process. And that's where you see terms coming up like DevOps on continuous deployment. And tools are evolving to create a seamless workflow from the application programmer towards the actual user that is using the software.
And so you mentioned a couple of buzzwords I hear a lot, DevOps and continuous integrations, continuous deployment. What makes now the right time for TOPdesk to jump on these technologies and start adopting them?
Mm-hmm. Basically it gives us a lot of opportunities to interact even better with our customers. Continuous deployment and DevOps gives us the means to quickly react on things that are happening in the market or things that are happening at our customers. We used to have a release cycle of, for example, each version each half year. So when you've created something, you would have to wait until the next release moment before you could help your customers with that. Now, while you're in a SaaS mode and you are having control over the exploitation as well, it becomes more easy to release features and release bug fixes and release all kinds of things in smaller controlled ways when they're ready. So that's where continuous deployment starts in, and well, our customers are quite happy to see that they quickly see the evolving software after they have mentioned something. Well, DevOps is basically something in the background that we can put in place to make that easier and to optimize our workflow so that we have more time available for creating new solutions instead of releasing it and all kinds of hassle of delivering it to our customers.
Makes sense. And so let's dig a little bit deeper into the technical side of this. Tell me a little bit about how using the cloud has changed your thinking of your architecture. I know you guys originally, as we talked about, you started on DOS, you went to a hosted web application, and that was hosted directly on servers, or traditional, what we now call legacy or bare metal servers. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your growth strategy and how cloud plays into that.
Yeah, when we started out in 2007 with our SaaS offering, it was pretty obvious to start with a co-location strategy. It was at that moment financially the most attractive way to start with a new service and see where it would go to. And initially we had a handful of customers. We're quite happy with the way we provided that at that moment. We did choose for a professional hosting provider. We did not want to have our own data center somewhere, so that's where we already have chosen to focus on what we are good at. So we've chosen co-location and started with LeaseWeb. Eventually, more and more customers had chosen our SaaS solution, which was faster than we expected basically, which was a success. Then we ran into some scalability issues. So at one point we noticed that our people were busy with the hosting platform beneath the software instead of trying to evolve the software to get to customer demands. So that's when we were looking around at solutions for that, and we ran into LeaseWeb's cloud solution.
So tell me, just I want to dig into that a little bit more when you talk about challenges with scaling, on your traditional or original platform, what exactly is the challenge? Does that mean basically if you have 10 servers and they're full and your customer demand is growing, you now need to start spending a significant amount of time just rolling out servers? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and also on the maintenance part, because if you are maintaining your own hardware, you have to take care of firmware, hardware disruptions, etc. So my people were basically spending time on getting to the co-location site and replacing hard drives, for example, instead of thinking of the next way to help our customers. Well, that's basically a waste of time when you guys are perfect professionals in hosting a cloud platform and taking care of that for us.
And so just by offloading all of that work, then what do you focus those engineers on now that you have more engineering time?
Well, we are figuring out how to integrate the DevOps strategy, for example. So make sure that our development department hooks into what we are doing. and creating the tools there, and that's where we can create more value for our customers.
And how have you worked with LeaseWeb in terms of aligning your roadmap with our roadmap, and what has that meant for you as a customer?
Well, we are in close contact with LeaseWeb, and at one point we explained them that that we ran into those scalability issues, and that's where you start figuring out what is a proper solution for the problem that you're mentioning. What we did not want to do is do a big bang change towards one of the bigger cloud solutions, for example, because a lot of customers will notice the impact because they are moving to a total different platform. And we ran into some legal things by that, because some of our customers do not want to be hosted in an American owned hosting company. So that's where LeaseWeb stepped in, and they sketched us a way to create a hybrid solution in which we had our own co-location still running, and beside that built a new cloud platform and integrate those two so that customers would not notice where they are hosted, basically. And that created a nice migration path for us to do our optimization in the background and still delivering exactly the same services towards our customers.
Well, you just mentioned regulation and geographic location, and that's a great transition into that topic. I know that for some customers, having their data located in Europe is very important, and for some customers based in the U.S., having their data there is very important. How does that impact your choice of a provider?
Well, for that you need to know what kind of information is stored in a TOPdesk, basically. In a lot of cases that is not very sensitive data, like an IT department who is registering which printer is broken or something like that. But in every case they are also registering personal information of the people who are calling them. So we do have to take into account the privacy laws evolving in both the US and in Europe. So that's somewhat more sensitive information. And at some of our customers, they even register financial information and information about their customers. And we have some schools, for example, who use TOPdesk to report on violence which is reported there. So you can imagine that in a lot of cases there is quite sensitive data which should really be secured inside the solution that our customers choose.
So let's talk a little bit about that a little bit more. It's not just a matter of which country the data center in, but what else are you looking for in terms of certifications and security compliance with your provider?
Well, when you're looking at the whole package of our SaaS services, then both parties, both us, TOPdesk, and our hosting provider have a responsibility here. For example, we need to make sure that our software is secure, that you are not able to just log in and view at information that you are not supposed to look at. But at the other side, we have outsourced a part of our hosting location. So for example, physical security is the responsibility of your provider. So we need to make sure that our customers have the security of the whole stack. Therefore, we have a certification of our services, and part of those certifications is that we make sure that our providers also have certifications to prove that they are capable of delivering secure services. So what we looked at our suppliers is suppliers that gave those guarantees. For example, ISO 27001 certifications make sure that you have physical security. Well, that has been taken care of by LeaseWeb and proved by the certifications that they have. So we can rely on that in our certifications again.
Any other important certifications? I know there's HIPAA, there's PCI compliance, SOC 1, probably lots of numbers and fun letters to say. Which of those are critical to your operations?
Well, currently we have an ISA 3000 certification, but what we've noticed along the way is that those certifications are evolving as well. Along the way, well, regulations are evolving at the moment. There's a lot of discussion on European level, and you see that trickling down towards auditing parties and certifications there. So at this point we have an ISA 3000 certification which covers a lot of our services, and the ISO certification makes sure that the security is covered on your side, and they complement each other. And what we currently see is that SOC is also becoming more and more important. So I guess that in the next couple of years we will go towards a SOC compliancy as well.
So shifting gears a little bit once again, speaking of compliance, that generally involves some financial expense. And I know one of the challenges when you have built up a really nice established hardware environment that you've been operating, you've put a lot of money into it, and the thought of, okay, well, let's just toss it and jump in the cloud. What do you do with that investment? So what has your approach been, and how's that worked with your provider?
Yeah, well, the long-term vision that we're trying to approach is worldwide hosting, and in that vision there is no place for privately owned hardware for us. So we need to get to a cloud-only strategy. But in the short run, we have a co-location with quite some investments there. So that's where the hybrid solution came into. We are currently just replacing hardware that we owned, not by replacing it with new hardware, but moving our customers towards the platform once our hardware should have been replaced. And in that way we can still benefit from the investments that we had until the time that we should already have replaced it anyway.
So basically a hybrid solution, bring some cloud up, we'll keep the legacy stuff running, or the investment that you've made in infrastructure, and hopefully seamlessly and without disruption move the customers?
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, have you run into any bottlenecks in this process?
Well, it's kind of hard to start changing things around in a live environment. So for example, what we now call our legacy environment, there's a couple of hundreds of customers are being hosted there. So you're hesitant to change there. So what we've done in our strategy is set up a new hosting location in the US, which was a business need anyway, and that's where we started cloud only. And what we've learned there and the technologies that we've adopted there are now being transferred to the cloud platform in Europe, which is basically next to our co-location. And now we are going to move those customers towards a already proven platform again, and thus making sure that we have a green field in the US and transferring it back to our current hosting locations.
So maintaining the investment you have, growing the new stuff, greenfield is a great word to hear. I know it's always an exciting opportunity. How were we as your provider able to help you have that greenfield opportunity while still maintaining connectivity and integration with your existing environment, and how important was that flexibility to you?
Well, we had a great example of helping us and thinking with us, because a couple of years ago we already had the idea of going to the US, and we started out with exactly the same co-location strategy at that point, but along the way we realigned our vision and realigned our goals, and that's where we decided not to go live with co-location again, but we wanted to go for the full cloud strategy. And LeaseWeb has helped us along the way in getting rid of those co-location systems there and making a cloud platform available for us to build it on there. And they've been really flexible in changing the contracts that were already there, because they saw where we were going, and they saw that the part that they could take in creating our ambitions.
Great. I'm glad to be able to do that with you. But I'm curious, what else did you consider? When you were talking about our next big vision is taking it to the cloud for our global ambition. But other than cloud, what did you consider? I mean, you mentioned kind of more of the same. Anything else?
Yeah, more of the same was one of the options, co-location again. But because of the obvious drawbacks, we changed away from that. And exactly on the other side of the scope is the very large providers like Amazon, like Azure, like Google, but it would have been a too large step for us at once to get a big bang change from co-location to that, and it would have impacted our customers along the way. So that wasn't a really viable option, and again, a lot of our customers do not want to be hosted in an American controlled hosting location. That's for our European customers, and it's good to know that they're still based in the European area.
So while we're on the subject of financial aspects, any tips for folks who are contemplating this journey or this migration or even a hybrid deployment on how to obtain cost reduction?
Well, it's important to find a partner which understands your journey, which understands your ambitions. While discussing some of the options with LeaseWeb, they came up with new solutions that we did not think of before or did not know that they were available. So that helps figure out a new roadmap.
Makes sense, and glad to hear it, of course. So kind of shifting to summarize a bit, for people that are planning to grow big by using the cloud, it sounds like flexibility is really a key point in the provider you choose. Any final thoughts on the importance of that?
Well, what we have found very important is that what we seek in a supplier is not just delivering what has been contracted, but a partner that actively engages us to help realize our ambitions. And that's basically what we found in LeaseWeb.
Well, and what can you share with us on the results so far? Basically, how's it going?
Well, in the US, we have started out our hosting location, so we are happy there, and our customers can start using SaaS as well. So that we now have the option to choose whether you want to be in the US or in Europe for hosting location. That's one thing that we've gained. And in Europe, we are in the migration process. Basically, about 1/3 of our customers has already been moved towards the cloud platform, and no customer has noticed any difference there in the negative way. So we are pretty much going along and according to plan.
Glad to hear it again. It sounds like it's been a big success for you so far. I mean, you said to me the most important thing I want to hear is that none of your customers have noticed or been impacted.
Yeah. That's one success factor, and the other success factor is that we are getting into the cloud strategy while making sure that the co-location is being getting smaller and smaller along the way, and being phased out in time before we should have been replacing it. So if we manage to get in that time frame to the cloud, then we're happy, and if our customers will only notice the beneficial part of it.
Well, and I have a question. I'd like to just dig into it a little bit with you. I know that whenever you have a greenfield environment, it's very tempting for engineers to really just jump into it and want to leave the existing environment behind. How do you maintain enough focus? Because as you mentioned, maintaining the existing environment is very important while you grow into the new space.
Well, that's where DevOps basically comes into, because the same people who are working on the greenfield also have to maintain the solution in our co-location at the moment. And everything that they are replacing and see beneficial in the new approach, they still have the pain in the old situation, so they want to get rid of the old situation, while at the same time getting the means to get there. So everybody's focused on phasing out our old legacy and getting to the new scalable solution at the same time.
So we got a question here from one of the viewers. From purely a cost perspective, how competitive have you found the pricing of using a private cloud like you're using now versus, as you mentioned, Amazon or Google Cloud? What were your considerations on this, and how did that play out?
Well, beside the point I've mentioned before that there were some other considerations, they were pretty close enough together to be equal in our considerations. There's not that much difference there.
So price-wise, you're very competitive? Is that what you'd say?
and at least more competitive than setting up our own co-locations around the world.
Sure. I have to imagine you also considered simply deploying your own cloud solution on top of the servers you're managing. But how much does that dilute or even eliminate the advantage of using a cloud provider?
Building the tools that you would normally find in the cloud. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, basically, some companies consider being their own cloud provider, supplying all the equipment and building a cloud environment and maintaining it. And I'm wondering, how much that approach impacts your calculation in terms of what you want your engineers to be spending their time on.
Yeah. Well, we did consider that. It might be tempting to implement it yourself, because from a pure hardware software perspective, it almost seems less costly if you do it yourself. But when you look at all the people that you need to maintain it and to set it up, and the time it'll take before you are able to start using it, if you take into those costs, then it's far too costly for us to spend our energy on. So it would take away the focus of designing our own software and improving that, and it's going to be costly as well, because setting up is not the only thing. Maintaining it is going to be the biggest cost there.
And question for you on scale. How important is scale to when you make the move to the cloud? And what I mean is that if you were starting today and you had that initial small batch of customers that are very enthusiastic, but you're really not sure what your customer base looks like next year because you're just growing. And today you have the option of leasing a couple of very inexpensive physical servers and starting out with that, and that would likely cover the need for a small number of customers. Or you could immediately jump into a cloud provider and start delivering your services from the cloud. What would you do today for people that are at a small scale? And again, how much does your expected scale impact whether you want to stick with physical servers or go into a cloud provider?
Yeah. Well, in 2007 things were differently. Some services weren't available, and at least the costs were very much higher on those services at that point. And what you've seen in the last couple of years is that cloud costs are going down rapidly, and that's because of competition that you see between the big players and the other players around it. So it's becoming more and more attractive to start using that. So if I would start a new service at this moment, I wouldn't even consider trying to set up your own service and maintaining them. I would directly jump to the cloud, because if it's going to be a success, you will be able to scale up more easily. And for example, when we had a very large scale up thing in our co-location, we were busy for 2 months in placing service, installing the software, installing the services on it, etc., to scale up big time. And by now it's just as easy as asking LeaseWeb for more capacity, and you will scale up almost immediately. So that's a big benefit. And if it would not be such a success, at least you will not have invested a lot of money on those infrastructure that's just sitting there.
Sure. So let me ask you this, and I'd like to invite any more questions from the viewers as well. But I have a sort of fun question for you. When you have fully migrated to your private cloud and you're ready to turn off the last physical server you're maintaining, will you throw a party?
Yes, I think a lot of the team members who are working behind the scenes are going to be very happy that they can put in time in some of the other ambitions that they've been talking about. But up till now, they did not have the time to pursue those ambitions. So I think they're going to be very happy on that part.
Indeed. Any final thoughts or advice you'd like to share with our viewers on the cloud? Yes, what I would recommend is finding partners always that you can easily interact with, that understand what you're doing, share your roadmaps with them, and try to partner up in realizing your ambitions. It makes life a lot easier. Great. Well, Jeroen, thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
And for the folks watching at home, If you'd like to learn more about what LeaseWeb or TOPdesk can do for you, we've got www.leaseweb.com and www.topdesk.com. We've also, for those who would like to know more about Jeroen's personal experience or to get in touch with LeaseWeb, we've got some contact info for you there. We will be emailing you a link to this session, so if you'd like to review the video or share it with anyone else, we certainly encourage that. This is Joshua Hoffman, Head of Product Engineering for LeaseWeb, wishing you a great day.